Hey, it's Three Musketeers by Alexander Dumas, read by Philip Yanaway, for Braxis Yanaway. And brothers, I'm gonna start off where we left off, Chapter 11, Plans for Revenge. Everyone's gonna keep misbehaving, lots of adventure. Alright, for many years, the French Catholics and the French Protestants, the Huguenots, lived in peace together. The Huguenots held several towns and ruled themselves without interference from the Catholic king Louis XIII. Then Richelieu decided to unite all of France under his Catholic rule, and his armies quickly overpowered all of the Huguenot towns except La Rochelle. The battle for La Rochelle had been going on for 15 months when the cardinal and the king arrived with their guards and their musketeers. One evening, when the king's musketeers were off duty, Athos, Porthos, and Aramis obtained a pass to go into the nearby town. D'Artagnan's company of guards was on duty in the trenches, so he couldn't join them. After several hours of drinking at the Red Dove Inn, the Three Musketeers started back to camp. At a turn in the road, they saw two riders coming towards them. "Who goes there?" called Athos in a firm voice. His hand was on his pistol. "Oh." "Who are you?" said one of the horsemen in an even firmer voice. Athos realized that this might be one of the officers making his night rounds, so he replied, "The king's musketeers." The riders stopped a few feet away. Their long cloaks hid their faces. The same commanding voice said, "Your names, gentlemen?" Athos was becoming annoyed. "Who are you, sir?" he demanded, "and what right do you have to question us?" The officer let his cloak fall, leaving his face uncovered. "The cardinal!" cried the musketeers. "Ah, I see now who you gentlemen are," said Richelieu. "Monsieur Athos, Monsieur Porthos, and Monsieur Aramis. I know that you are not exactly my friends, but I also know that you are all brave men. Therefore, I shall ask you to accompany me to the Red Dove Inn." "We shall be honored, your eminence," said Athos. "Besides, we passed some suspicious-looking men on the road, and even had a quarrel with one at the inn." "A quarrel, gentlemen?" said the cardinal. "You know I do not approve of quarrels." "That's okay." "But, your eminence, the man was drunk, and he was trying to break down the door of a lady who had arrived earlier." "Oh, my goodness. Was this lady young and blonde and beautiful?" asked the cardinal anxiously. "We did not see her," said Athos. "Ah, you did not see her," said the cardinal with a sigh of relief. "Well, you did right in defending her. Now let us be off." When they arrived at the inn, the innkeeper came running down, bowing to the cardinal. Richelieu asked, "Have you a room on the ground floor where these gentlemen can warm themselves while they wait for me?" The innkeeper nodded and led the musketeers into a large room. The cardinal hurried up the stairs as if he knew the place well. Porthos and Aramis sat before the fire, and amused themselves with a game of dice. Athos, meanwhile, paced back and forth, wondering who the cardinal was meeting here. As he passed in front of an old stovepipe which ran up through the ceiling and into the room above, Athos heard the murmur of voices. The words coming down through the pipe caught his attention, and he made a sign to his friends to be silent. He put his ear close to the pipe and heard the cardinal talking. "Listen, my lady. Here are your orders. You are to leave for England tonight to meet with the Duke of Buckingham. But I fear that the Duke will not trust me, not after the affair of the diamond studs," said the woman's voice that made Athos gasp. "I am not sending you to gain his trust," said Richelieu. "You will simply deliver this message. If he carries out his plans to send English forces to help the Huguenots, it will mean not only war with France, but ruin for the Queen as well." Dun, dun, dun. "What if he doesn't believe me?" Just assure him that I have proof which will disgrace the Queen. And if he still insists on going ahead with his plans, then the Duke must meet with an accident. Oh, I shall see to that gladly, said Milady. Oh my goodness. And then I shall take care of nay own enemies. I think it's supposed to say of my own enemies. First, that woman Bonasix. But she is in the prison at Nantes. Not any longer, your eminence. The Queen found out where she was and had her taken to a convent for safety. Which convent? Asked the cardinal. It is being kept a secret, said Milady. Well, I shall find out and let you know. Good. And now for my other enemy, continued Milady. The man who made my mission with the diamonds fail. The man who wounded Rochelle. And the man who tried to kill me when he learned that I was involved in the kidnapping of his Constance. You mean D'Artagnan, said the cardinal. I can easily send him to the Bastille, where he will never be heard from again. Your eminence, said Milady, that's a fair exchange. The life of D'Artagnan for the life of Buckingham. And I shall need a signed warrant giving me authority to do anything I need to for the good of France, of course. Rochelle sat down at the table, and Athos heard the scratching of a pen. Athos turned away from the stovepipe and led Porthos and Aramis to the far end of the room. I must leave you for a while, he said. But what shall we tell the cardinal? Asked Porthos. Simply tell him that I have gone on ahead to make sure the road is safe. Once you both reach camp, stay at D'Artagnan's side. Do not leave him for an instant. Athos didn't rush from the room and galloped off towards La Rochelle. Minutes later, Rochelle came down, ready to return to camp. Porthos explained Athos' absence, but assured the cardinal that he and Aramis were ready to escort his eminence back to La Rochelle. Meanwhile, as soon as Athos was out of sight of the inn, he stopped his horse behind a large rock. He waited there until he saw his friends and the cardinal pass by. Then he turned around and sped back to the inn. He explained to the innkeeper that the cardinal had forgotten to tell the lady something of importance, and that he had returned with the message. Oh, go on up, said the innkeeper. She is still in her room. Athos hurried up the stairs, through the open door, and saw Milady putting on her hat. He entered the room and closed the door behind him softly, and he turned the lock. Milady spun around. Who are you? She cried. Sacre bleu! How dare you enter my room? Athos raised his hat and put his cloak away from his face. Do you not recognize me, madame? He asked. Milady gasped. The Count de la Fère, she cried, turning pale and backing away. Yes, my lady, the Count de la Fère. You believed I was dead, didn't you? Just as I believed you to be dead too. Milady groaned. But Athos went on. The Count de la Fère has been hidden for years behind the name of the Musketeer Athos, just as Charlotte de Buell has been hidden behind the name of Milady de Winter. But neither Charlotte de Buell nor Milady de Winter can hide the brand of Fleur de Lis from her body. What do you want with me? Stammered Milady in a trembling, terrified voice. Hear what I have to say, madame, said Athos coldly. I don't much care what you do with the Duke of Buckingham. He is an Englishman, and so my enemy. But if you dare touch a single hair on D'Artagnan's head, I swear I'll kill you with my bare hands, and this time I'll make sure you're dead. Oh my goodness. The lady stood frozen in fear. And now, madame, continued Athos, raising his pistol to Milady's head, give me the warrant the cardinal just signed. You have 5 seconds to do so. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just as his finger was about to squeeze the trigger, oh my goodness! Milady reached to her dress and pulled out the paper. Take it, she cried, throwing it at him. I'll have my revenge on you, too. Athos unfolded the paper and read, It is by my orders, and for the good of France, that the bearer of this letter has done what he has done. 3rd of December, 1627, Rochelle. The cardinal may have thought he was clever in giving you this permission to murder, madame, but one day this warrant will return to haunt him. Then Athos returned and left the room without once looking behind him. At the front door of the inn he found the 2 men who were to escort Milady to her ship. Gentlemen, he said, the cardinal has asked me to remind you that you are to see that this woman gets to her ship. No one is to speak to her, and she is to send no messages. The men nodded, and Athos rode off. When he reached the camp at La Rochelle, he found Porthos and Aramis with D'Artagnan, who had just come off duty. The 3 musketeers told D'Artagnan what they had learned of Milady's plans. Good heavens! Cried D'Artagnan. We must warn the queen, and she must warn the duke. We cannot permit that evil woman to carry out her murderous plans. But we cannot leave our posts in the middle of battle, said Athos, not even to save Buckingham. But we can send my trusted Planchet, suggested D'Artagnan. So they summoned Planchet from his tent and gave him a sealed letter for the queen. You must ride to Paris immediately, said D'Artagnan, and carry the queen's message to London. But hurry, and ask her where my dear Constance has been taken. And now, my friend, said Porthos, let us drink a toast to Planchet's success. Splendid idea, said D'Artagnan, as he took out a bottle of wine and began pouring for his friends. And let me thank you for sending this wine, my friends. It was kind of you to think of me in the trenches while you were at the Red Dove Inn. We sent you no wine, said Athos. But this note from the innkeeper said it was from the 3 of you. What does it matter where the wine came from, said Porthos, lifting his glass. Let us drink it, just the same. No, cried D'Artagnan, knocking the glass out from his hand and rushing out of the tent. On the ground outside lay one of the guards from his company. The man was having terrible convulsions and choking. Then his body stiffened. He was dead from the wine D'Artagnan had poured for him moments before. Poisoned wine from the Red Dove Inn, said Athos. We can guess who sent it. We must prevent her from carrying out any more of her murderous plans, said D'Artagnan, for she will never rest until all of us are dead. Oh, see how this develops next time in Chapter 12.